Okay, so this is how it's going to work now. So you have the sign there, and then I'll randomly pick one person and ask a question, and see if that person answers that, you know, if that's a correct answer, then you might get a surprise prize. So how about we'll start with early startup table in the middle right there. Yes, this table. So the question is, it's an early startup table, so we have about, what, 9 folks over there. So let me ask the gentleman who has his head down. Mr. John. So the question is, on this table, on your table, how many startups are in the seed stage? You can't ask any questions now. You had the opportunity. You saw your answers.
As far as I know, I didn't talk to anyone here who has seed.
Sorry?
As far as I know, I haven't talked to anyone at this table yet who has seed.
Nobody has seed?
No one here has seed funding yet.
Oh, okay. Is that correct? Everyone?
Yes.
No one has got a single dime. Okay. All right. You get the first award, which will be announced just after I finish 2 more questions. All right. And that too also got coming down all the way from San Francisco. John, I had told him the other day, you should come to this event, see? So now, how about we go to early startup we did. There is a startup. I'm trying to figure out which one should I choose. How about you guys help me? There is one startup here and one startup here. Table.
Pick both.
Pick both? Okay, I'll ask the question to both and see who answers. So, who started the maximum number of startup companies on your table? You said 2 people started in your table? Is that correct?
Yeah, 2 people.
That's right. Okay. How about this table? You know, the question is, who started the maximum number of startups companies on your table? You can't answer, you can't ask questions. Sorry, you can ask your friends again right now.
So,
If I see you talking, then you're disqualified.
I believe that Sanjay here started 2 startups, and I think that's the most at our table.
How about other people? Okay, so I can give only 1 prize. I think you're kind of being a little iffy, so I'll go here. So you get the 2nd prize. So please remember. So we'll announce the prize. So one more. You'll get an opportunity next time. Please come to more events. We'll have it every time from now onwards. And now the entrepreneur table. There is only one, I think. There is another one, but this is not qualified for the prize. Okay. So in that, how about the question? In your table, I'm guessing all of you are working for large companies, or is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. So how about I'll go the 3rd person who has with the glasses from this side. No, yeah. No, the one who pointed. Give it to him, please. Okay, so whose company has the highest market cap? By the way, which are the large companies they are all working for, and then who has the largest market cap?
I think it's IBM, Mr. Bhatnagar.
Sorry?
IBM, Mr. Bhatnagar.
Okay, IBM. Okay, so I have to ask you one more question. Because, you know, there are 2 tables, one is kind of empty. So how many of you are in, other than IBM, network infrastructure area? This question is for the other gentleman who wanted to answer it earlier. Yeah.
1. I think it's it.
Is that, which one?
Imparva.
Is that the only one networking company in that table? Securities. infrastructure. Okay, we'll kind of take it. Okay, so out of those two now, how are we, so in that, the second one will get the prize. So now I would like to invite Vish if he has already eaten. I know he's been eating. So Vish is our president and I call him the chief cheerleader of this organization. He doesn't get paid anything, but we take all his time and other resources. So Vish is going to give the award, the first, from the first one, early startup, John.
Come on up, John. Yeah, you're going to be captured on video and the camera, both.
Yeah.
And we're going to hide the label here.
This is a very fine bottle of Thai wine, okay? So enjoy and enjoy this. Thank you.
And the second one, gentlemen, if you want to come and please shake hands with Mr. Vish.
No, more important, get your word. You know,
I know, then after that.
that's right, yeah.
Okay, that's Jack.
Yeah.
So your next award is actually, award is next event will be free. So you can see Patricia.
It's better than cash.
Better than cash.
All right.
Thank you. You'll get wisdom. So third one. Yes.
Congratulations, and the award is.
Similar, same. You can also come for the next event free.
All right. The next event is, by the way, you don't have to wait too long for it. If you want to cash it, okay? You can come next week.
Yeah.
When you plan.
No, only one.
Oh, hey, I like this guy. He's negotiating. Yeah, he's an entrepreneur, yeah.
That's good. They can come next time. They might be lucky. No, not all of them. Only you. So, okay, with that, number one, I would like to thank, there are a few new things also we have today. This was one of the things we wanted to do to encourage all of you so you can walk away with at least getting to know one or two people and then hopefully you get together for coffee, lunch, whatever, and they become, and end up whether doing business or become friends. Now, second is, we also have, by the way, this is the first event where we are having the live streaming. So there are two of the folks, there is Rishi and his colleague over there from India West, the live, so we really appreciate and thank Rishi very much for taking a proactive role in getting this partnership going. And live streaming is going on, and however, there are one of the chapters from India in Nagpur, in the central India. So the Thai chapter in Nagpur is going to be dialing in from there. So that's really great and really appreciate that. And at the same time, some other volunteers who have made it happen. There is Venkatesh, could you please stand up? And then Venkatesh with a team of 4 or 5 other folks, Gary, and all these folks are volunteer, are marketing, we call them marketing director volunteers here. They've been really helping with coming up with this great idea of giving wine and the next event's free and other things we will do in future. So really, let's give them a big round of applause to all these volunteers. So now I'd like to introduce Vish Mishra. He's a tireless volunteer for Thai since its inception. So Vish will talk about Thai organization. And
Sure. Thank you, Naveen. Okay, are we live with Thai Nagpur, Dan, Rishi?
Yes.
Is Thai Nagpur on here?
Yeah,
Are they?
we are. In a few minutes we'll be live, yeah.
Okay, so would you please, even when the program has just started, so when they come on live, I would like you to take a pause, just stop everybody, because we want all of us, we want to say hello Thai Nagpur, big ways, morning over there, okay? So it's a good, you can say good morning to them, okay, and ask them what are they having for breakfast. So we want to kind of make sure that we really welcome them virtually. There are at least 50 people, from what I've been told, are there, and going to watch these things. So we want to make sure that we can really give them a warm, Thai Silicon Valley welcome. So anyway, thanks to Naveen. Naveen has been our program chair for almost 2 years now, and he has brought about so many new innovations. And as you can see, and you guys are testimonials here, because we create all these programs and people show up, and nothing makes us feel any happier than more and more people coming and occupying these seats over here. Just to let you know, last year alone, we had, just in these seats, we had 6,000 people sat in these chairs last year, all of them. over the 50-week, that we had last year. So, and year before was the same number. So we really, we feel very glad that you all come and support Thai, and that's how Thai works. How many of you are new to Thai? I just kind of want to get a very quick, okay, great. So I'm assuming they're all members? If not, please consider becoming a member, because for $20, you spend to every event, you get a very fine meal with wine, dessert, and this great company, and all these wonderful words of wisdom and advice and this networking that happens. It is just tremendous value. So please consider becoming a member, and you can get to attend the program only for $50, $20 at a time, and the membership is only $100 per year. So it is super inexpensive. It's like 30 cents a day, but we are not equipped to take daily payments, so we ask you to make one payment of $100 per year. So please, thank you for being a member. Just in a nutshell, the history of Thai. We started Thai right here in Silicon Valley 20 years ago, and the way it started was a lot of us, who grew up in South Asian country, primarily in India and Pakistan and all, we came to America in the 60s and 70s. And all we had was, maybe a good education, good attitude, good work ethic. And, some of us succeeded beyond our wildest imagination in America. We said, gee, this is a great country or what? So that is the genesis. And since we came here and we really didn't know anybody, we had no support system, nothing whatsoever. So 20 years ago, we said, gee, won't that be nice if we form a society and help anybody who want to succeed as entrepreneurs or as business, business people. And this is the genesis of Thai. And we have not deviated from that mission since day one. So it's all about entrepreneurship. It's all about excellence. It's all about, striking out your own and, striking gold. It has, really worked, okay? We don't have, hard measured data, but anecdotally, we believe that we have created over $200 billion of economic value through Thai's efforts. And so started from here, but now we are, globally into now, we just added 3 additional new countries. So we're in 17 countries right now. We added Israel, we added Hong Kong, and we added Portugal. Thai is now into 60 cities, 17 countries, and the global membership is like 15,000. But the nucleus, the core of Thai, and I want to recognize many of those folks who are in the room, it is those people who really achieved extraordinary level of success and also became very generous with their time primarily. So they band together, and we call them charter members. They get invited to be a charter member. You just don't apply and become a charter member. You really have to be invited. And we go, through a very elaborate process to basically, verify your successes and verify also your generosity. We want to make sure that you can, get invited to really help build this institution and not take anything away from it. And in Silicon Valley alone, there are 300 such people who are members, core members of Thai, which we call charter members. Many of us are in the room, so if you can just, if all of you charter members could just stand up a little bit so that everyone can take a good look at you guys. So I really appreciate that. So Naveen, I know every table we have charter members sitting, so can just let the charter members just stand up, please. I really want CMs to be standing up. The Praveen over there, there we go. These people are really very generous and very successful. So please, when you see them, go strike a conversation and ask them any kind of question. And if they can't address it for you, they will point you to somebody else. So this is Silicon Valley, but globally we have more than 2,000 such people. So this network is very, very powerful. And so that's the core constituency. And then of course all the broad members, who are primarily 2 categories. Either they are aspiring or established entrepreneurs, or they are just professionals. They are working for larger companies, and most of you who work for larger companies, ranks are pretty high, because you are senior directors, you are vice presidents, you are CEOs of your companies, but you are also Thai members. So we just really salute you for really joining Thai. The third constituency that we have for Thai is our what we call broad level of sponsors. So brand name venture capital firms, brand name, corporations, brand name, law firms, brand name accounting firms, and the media firms. They really are our sponsors. And we've been kind of flashing this thing on the screen, all evening. So I like to just call on. I know IBM is here as one of our sponsors, but anybody who is a sponsor, I did not get a chance to see all of you guys. If you are here, I'd like you to just please, stand up and be recognized. We really appreciate your financial support. Tonight is just IBM, but we have IBM and we have HP. Not to make sure that we got those two companies. We have Google, we got SAP. So we got a lot of corporations. For example, we got Ernst & Young, is a professional, KPMG. We got Morrison Foerster. We have some other law firms that are coming up to speed. We got Barclays, we got BNY Mellon, we got Morgan Stanley. We got just a lot of great sponsors. So thank you to all our sponsors. Okay, appreciate it. And lastly is all of us who are the volunteers, because the way TIE works, is a very small staff. Because the way we support ourselves is the members pays dues, and for all the programs, and including the sponsors, they pay fees. So it's the dues and fees are the only two sources of income that we have, and but it's a labor that the volunteers provide that is just awesome. Those of you who have seen our annual conventions, TICON, we get 300 some plus people volunteers. The entire conference is designed and produced and delivered by the volunteers. So this is another thing about TIE. I don't know of any other organization where volunteerism is so high as is TIE. So thank you to all of you guys again for being a volunteer and furthering our mission. So on just that remark, I want to just welcome one more time. Is Nagpur online yet or no?
Almost. Give us 5 minutes.
Almost. Give us 5 minutes. Okay, all right. So Naveen, you want to now come on over? This program is Naveen's brainchild, and I want him to come and tell a little bit about just this particular program, and we'll take it from there. Okay. So thank you all. Thank you.
Actually, I wanted to add one more thing about the main program we have, which is TICON, which is held every year in summer. I think this, so TICON is in May since '94. It's been happening, and last year we were selected as one of the top 10 conferences for ideas and entrepreneurship by Worth Magazine, along with World Economic Forum and TED, so which was really a great accomplishment. Especially that program is organized by about 400 to 500 volunteers who start working from December, January onwards for the program, upcoming program. So if any of you want to be volunteer, please contact us, Patricia outside, myself, or anyone. So the My Story program, actually, we have a My Story program. How many of you have attended in the past? Oh, great. So today's program is even more unique because some of the feedback we had also got from the last, a number of you who attended, because the genesis of this program was me as an entrepreneur and as a volunteer in Thai since '94. Whenever, I was raising money. In fact, I met my first investor in Thai by chance in '96 for my software company. Was that what do I look for as an entrepreneur? So I always used to come here if I could hear some inspirational story from some entrepreneur who succeeded, because every entrepreneur is unique, right? There is no cookbook. I mean, even though there are a number of books, how to write business plan, etc., but everyone goes through their own experiences and succeed. So it's been very phenomenally successful, and thanks to all those who came here. A number of them were more entrepreneurs. They conceived an idea, then developed the product, then they found a strategic partner, and then they sold the company. But one of the things which was missing in the past, My Story entrepreneurs, some of them were, from the feedback I also received from the attendees, was how about featuring some successful entrepreneur executive who could share how you can grow the company, whether if you're part of a large company or otherwise also, not just developing the product and selling the company. So we have a unique and amazingly successful entrepreneurial executive today, Atul Bhatnagar, with us this evening, who's going to share his successful journey. So we really appreciate it very much. Until recently, Atul was president and CEO of IXIA, which is a publicly held company on NASDAQ, where under his leadership, IXIA doubled its revenues and also increased its operating margins to over 20%, including 3 transformative acquisitions and also building a team which can continue to scale it. So, and before that, Atul was with Nortel Networks. He was the general manager for their data networking division and bringing in over $1 billion in revenue. So for all those who are here who want to learn how to grow, we have the best speaker today here. So he came to Nortel via acquisition of LTON Web Systems. How many of you remember LTON in 2000? Great. That was the largest acquisition Nortel did for over $7 billion. And Atul was vice president of advanced products over there. And earlier, he began his career with Hewlett Packard, another large company, where he held several executive positions, including the general manager of OpenView Telecom Network Management Platform, as well as Internet Appliance. In addition to all this, he is a passionate coach for emerging leaders and encourages innovation. And he has a unique approach to unique global approach to accelerating the business and people leadership. So with that, I would like to invite Atul to share his exciting, colorful, and amazing journey of his success with us here.
Thanks, Naveen. Really appreciate the introduction. It's very gratifying to see so many colleagues and friends from the past, from HP, Nortel, Ixia. And it has been an honor and a privilege working with several of you over the last 2 decades or so. You know, as we grew up in our career, we were very lucky. We were lucky in the sense, especially in my case, as I grew up in HP from 1985 through 2000, there were just amazing leaders, amazing mentors, and we looked up to them. And many of them spent significant time with us, guiding us, mentoring us, growing us. And I think that is something now when I look back, from first line manager to a general manager, that 15-year journey, that set the foundation. And as I go through my presentation, I will really emphasize that this mentoring and having a mentor is so crucial. Whether you are an early startup, whether you are a mature startup, or whether you are a decent-sized company, it doesn't matter, because these mentors play a very key role. So that's one thing I want to acknowledge, upfront, that that has played a very key role. So for me, spending time and giving back, sharing the experiences, what works, what doesn't work. Now everyone has a unique journey. All of us are a product of our experiences. Some good, some bad, but from every experience, we learn, we introspect, and then we change the course. And as I go through today, in my journey, I'm going to share many stories with you which were break points, points from which you accelerated. And then there were some points where you did not accelerate, but nonetheless you learned quite a bit. And I think everyone's journey is unique. And one point I want to make up front is that there's no one formula which works for everyone. Everyone has to find their own formula. Everyone has to draw upon their strengths. And everyone has different strengths. So the format of this session is, how do you accelerate your leadership? And again, doesn't matter whether you're first line manager, second line manager, engineer, doesn't matter. Those principles are applicable to all jobs and all levels. And then the second part I'll focus on is, how do you accelerate business? Now these two things are intrinsically connected. And that's why the personal growth and your business growth, both are very much coupled in a very strong manner. And if you don't develop your leadership skills, then what ends up happening is that you take your enterprise or a company or idea to a certain level, and then it nosedives. So for continuous scalability, you need to have a lot of focus on your own leadership development. So I'm going to start with that first, then move into the acceleration of business part, and then I'm going to summarize at the end what key attributes over the last 2 decades I have found from personal experience, as well as watching some very successful leaders, whether it was HP or whether it was other companies I worked for, and distilling that for you. So moving on to the first chart here, and this is again, I'm going to keep slides very simple, but for each area, I'm going to give some specific examples. So when it comes to the personal leadership, there are only 4 key points I'm going to focus on. Number 1 is everyone needs to have a vision for oneself. You know, a lot of people actually who work in companies or startups pay a lot of attention to what is the vision for their company, but not pay as much attention to what is their own vision for themselves. And it's so crucial that as you navigate your career, to have your own vision and as strong and as expansive as possible, because it takes decades to execute that vision. And as you create that vision for yourself, you need to know what your strengths are. So for example, in my case, very early on, I knew that I liked working with people. I liked getting things done. I liked interacting and communicating. That was something I really enjoyed. So early on, I chose management path. Whereas if someone is an architect, someone is very technical, very insightful, and really enjoys detailed technical work, there's no reason to move to management. They can go all the way to CTO route or VP of technology. Fortunately in high tech, it's dual ladder. You don't need to compromise. So the vision part is very, very important. I can't overemphasize, because what ends up happening is for many of us who come from Indian background or Asian background, sometimes we struggle whether I should be ambitious or not, right? And that's a very key question. And what I found is that ambition is actually very important, and that feeds into your vision. And in ambition, you have to have positive ambition. What I mean by the positive ambition is that you really are focusing on the positive aspects of being ambitious, not being selfish, really focusing on lifting all the boats along with as you are rising. That is positive ambition. So if you are ambitious in that sense, and I define it very carefully, positive ambition, that leads into your own vision in terms of where you want to go. That leads into your drive. And these 3 things are very intrinsically connected. And if you don't have these 3 things, then what ends up happening is there'll be 1 year, 2 years, you're riding high, then suddenly you're riding very low. Then again you're riding high. You don't have that constancy. You don't have the continuous drive which can take you 2 decades or 3 decades. So I always say that as you're driving your own leadership development, you want to make sure that the vision part is. So early on, I had a very clear vision in my own management career that I want to be a general manager, or I want to run a business. And this was way back. So what that clarity then gave me what changes I need to be making as the journey starts in order to piecewise linearize, step by step. Now as you're developing the vision, the passion, all of us are watching Olympics right now, and it's amazing to see the passion of these young athletes. The drive, the passion. And that passion actually becomes important because it makes you the best in whatever you do. And fundamentally, you have to be driven enough to the point that whatever you choose, whether it's technical, management, networking, social media, doesn't matter. Whatever area you pick, you have to be the best. You have to have the drive to be the best. And specifically, as I look at, careers of people who are starting now for next, say, 30 years versus us, who have now worked for, say, 20, 30 years, there's a significant delta. Last 30 years, the life cycles were reasonably long. You could spend good, 5, 6 years developing a program or a product line. You had time. Now the life cycles are more 2.5 years, 2 years, year and a half. So fundamentally, the pace of change has increased significantly. What that means is that now you have even less time to be the best. So the focus and the attention, the passion becomes even more important. And that rate of change, so in some sense, earlier we had speed, then came velocity, which is speed with a direction, but now we are talking about acceleration. So in some sense, the times are changing. So the first is very important, having clear vision and passion for what you really are going for. Second part I want to talk about is intuition. And in my experience, what I found is that no matter which area you are in, there's not enough data. There is just not enough analysis. And especially in high tech, your intuition plays a very key role in wherever you are going. Now, how do you develop that intuition, especially the areas we're in? Number one, you have to know the subject matter reasonably well. Number two, you have to interact with a lot of people. As you network, and I think Naveen earlier and Vish, both of them are encouraging, that interaction with people brings a lot of ideas. And whatever idea you have, it becomes better. It goes through a distillation because you are surrounding yourself with people who have excellent ideas. So networking, discussing with people, and as a leader, you also want to make sure you're creating an environment in your company or in your project team which is open, where there is good respect for people. Because the more you create that kind of environment, fundamentally what you will see is that creates the conducive situation for excellence. And any team or any company which doesn't do it could succeed by brute force for a few years, but long term cannot sustain. And all the key things I'm describing, these were the lessons in HP we learned early on. The power of HP in 80s and 90s was just incredible. They never gave up. Once they started something, there was always a very clear drive, very clear vision, and even if they didn't succeed in the first chance, they will come again. And the leaders we had, especially those 2 decades when we were growing up, they had so much focus on people and respect and innovation that until your product really adds value, they will not take the product out to the market. And some of that over time, I'm sure, has changed. But these principles helped many of us as we went on to lead companies, lead divisions, lead the teams, to keep and these values are time tested. They're not 80s and 90s versus now. Same principles. If you are not innovating, if it doesn't add value, don't take it out to the market. Those were very, very key core values. And as you develop that intuition with that network, with knowledge, with interacting with people, then trust your intuition. I think intuition, another area intuition plays a very key role is when you're hiring people. How many times you have interviewed somebody and you really, you can't pinpoint, but you somehow have a question mark on a person. And if you go back and you say, well, I did end up hiring the person, invariably, within 12 months, you will find out some massive red flag. So a lot of times, you will have the intuition, but you will not trust it. And I'll give you an example of, intuition in my own personal career. So I started, like most of the entrepreneurs or executives who come from India, I did my undergrad from BITS Pilani, and then I came to graduate school. After working 3 years in India, I worked in India for a company called DCM Data Products. They were one of the first few computer companies of India. And when I came to US, did my electrical and computer engineering from University of New Mexico, Albuquerque. And I was lucky enough to get into Unix operating system, multitasking design, early on. And networking was just starting in early 80s. And as I got into networking, early 80s, joined a company called Tektronix in Oregon. They and HP were actually at almost the same size. HP, when I joined, was about $3 to $4 billion company. When I left HP, they were about $42 billion company. So we saw the growth of a company from 3 to 4 billion to about 42 billion in those 15 years. And during that journey is where we learned what is intuition, how do you lead a team, how do you have constancy of purpose, even if you don't succeed, you come back again and again. All those key principles were learned. And those principles are, whether again, medium, large, small, doesn't matter. These are, as I said, time-tested principles. So came to HP, had a great career from first line manager to all the way to a general manager. And when I went to HP, in about last 6 years of HP, I took quite a bit of risk in the sense that I was in R&D and engineering, but I really had this goal to be a general manager. So I moved into product management and marketing. And I think many of you are in similar situations where you are kind of guiding your career right now, or you're thinking, how do I keep growing? And the reason I keep going back to the vision is that vision propelled me to take the risk. Because I was doing very well as a director or VP of engineering type of a role, very comfortable. But I knew that just doing that is not enough to become a GM or a CEO down the line. I have to move into product management or marketing, and especially to be a CEO down the line. If you don't have sales, marketing, or product management type of background, it is very difficult to really, there are always exceptions, but very difficult to lead in a wholesome manner the entire company. So in early 90s, I made that call. I moved into product management and marketing. That was a very risky call. Because when you move from engineering into marketing, as many of you who may have done it know, it's very tough call to do, because engineering is very quantitative, black and white. There are results every week or every month. Marketing and product management, sometimes you don't have much to show. And that's a very tough transition but nonetheless, that transition is very important transition, because you end up learning to deal with ambiguity. You learn to distill customer needs and develop that intuition. All those things are very important lessons. So in my case, that route was an important route. During those years, I used to question, am I doing the right thing? But those changes, helped quite a bit 5 years, 10 years down the line. Now, after that, I decided that Asia is a very key place where there's a lot of growth going on. This was, by then it was about 95 or so. And I had a chance to head to Singapore. Again, the next risk. See, in the career, if you don't take risks, you will not reach where you need to go. And I always say, nothing risked, nothing gained. If you're just doing what you're doing, nothing wrong with that. If that's what you want to do, keep doing that. But if that's not your cup of tea, then make changes. So in my case, by then, I was very focused on really running a business, doing biz dev, or learning new businesses, for example, which are growing in Asia. So in 94 end, I jumped into this role to lead OpenView Telecom, OSS, BSS Solutions, the division of based in Singapore. And in hindsight, that move was really the move which created the knowledge for sales, biz dev. It was a startup within HP at that time, and set the foundation for future growth. Now, when I came back from Singapore in '96, I had a chance to run a public company in Silicon Valley. And I'm touching upon intuition now. This is why I brought this example. Now, this particular company, I interviewed, and it seemed pretty exciting. It was in communication space, and as I evaluated the offer, money was very good, stock options, all those things. Something didn't quite fit right, and this company had very strong product line, but it was a one product company fundamentally. And as I started kind of peeling the onion, I felt, there is a significant risk. And at that time, kids were still young, so I didn't feel like taking a risk, being a single income family at that time, to really, and the intuition kept telling me that something is not quite right. So at the end, and I struggled quite a bit, because when you have a chance to run a company, you are still not 40, and you get excited. And nonetheless, at the end, I trusted my intuition. I said no. So when I went to the CEO at that time, who was going to retire, he said, I can't believe you, that you are walking away from a chance to run a public company before you're 40. No one will reject this, and I'm doubling your salary. I'm giving you these stock options. And he couldn't believe. He said, you will regret this. I said, so be it. In hindsight now, because now I can play that tape completely, that company in 18 months or so got acquired. They could never get another product line going. And the new company which acquired them actually ended up decimating the management team. Now, again, I don't know what would have happened if I'd gone there. All that is speculation. But nonetheless, I think in hindsight, that gave me even more strength, that trust your intuition, especially when you're evaluating significant changes in your life. Because your intuition is a subconscious processor, a lot more powerful than your conscious processor. And most of the time, you don't trust it. So that I just want to share that one story. In hindsight, though at that time I didn't know whether I'm doing it right or not, because you never know when you'll get another chance to run a company. But what it proved to me, or what it really showed me, is that you'll always get opportunities. As long as you're developing yourself, as long as you are doing the kind of things I'm describing, you'll always get opportunity. So intuition, perseverance. Now perseverance is one of those things I learned early on. As I started my high school prep, in my case, everyone in US when you meet, the way US schools work is sports plays a very key role in your competitiveness. And as the executives, as the managers grow from the US schooling system, that sports angle actually ends up playing a very key role as an executive or a CEO down the line. In my case, it was more academic. I came more on the academic side early on. So in my high school time frame, I was very, very focused. I had this vision of being top 5 in the high school exam in Delhi. I grew up in Delhi. So I prepared very hard, 10th grade and 11th grade. In those days it was 11th and then 5 years of engineering. So I was a bio student. I was really preparing to be a doctor. Very passionate about biology at that time. And so final exams came in physics, math, chemistry. I made it to the top 5 type of situation. But when it came to biology, there was a dissection of a frog involved. And I messed up the dissection. And one of the veins which goes through the heart called dorsal aorta, I nipped that. And I knew right there. It's like falling from a beam on Olympics, pretty much. And I knew right there that top 5 is gone. And sure enough, top 5 rank was gone, but I still made it top 30. But that competitiveness and the drive came pretty much from there. Even there, I had this vision which was driving. So in my case, lot of competitiveness or perseverance, this all came from in that high school. Now, when that incident happened of that in biology, one of my uncles was visiting my house in Delhi, and I was pretty dejected because when you work that hard and you fall, it's pretty hard. But as a 16-year-old at that time, I didn't share that with too many people, parents or siblings at that time, because they thought he has done so well. But in my own book, actually, I had not met my expectations. Now, so this uncle came, he said, son, this is 1973. He said, son, the future lies in electronics. And it took me 5 minutes to change. And that day, I made a call to go towards engineering. Though my passion was at that time biology, but I said, I'm good in math, physics. I think engineering, electronics sounds good. Now, joined Pilani at the BITS Pilani for undergraduate. BITS played a very key role in my own development. Those 5 years at Pilani was very formative. Now, the reason it was formative is, you are good in your high school. Now you go to a good institute. You are surrounded with very bright people. And for the first time you realize, that you're basically just one of 500-600 kids. And many of them are a lot smarter than you. And that realization is actually, I'm sure many of you had the same experience. But in my case, I used that to really work harder. And Pilani had they threw another monkey wrench. They didn't assign you engineering. You actually came in as an unassigned batch. And if you don't work hard, 3 years from entry, you may be doing MS Sanskrit. And your parents might be thinking, this kid is doing electrical engineering. So those 3 years were formative in that sense. We learned 3 things. Number one, how to deal with stress. Because there were exams and quizzes, and you don't want to do MS Sanskrit. You really want to, for the guys listening in India, Nagpur from Pilani, in those days, we had a lot of stress. So managing that stress was important. Secondly, perseverance. Even if you didn't do well in the test, just keep going. Third, resilience. So those 5 years, I would say those 3 things were very important as I was reflecting back in terms of your own makeup. Now, interesting thing is by the time you graduate, you're 21, but those attributes you pick up go long ways with you as a manager or an engineer or an architect. So in my case, I would say the perseverance really came quite a bit during those 5 years, and then you just kind of continue that. The next key thing as a leader, drive and execution. You can have as many strategies, as many visions, but if you don't execute, it doesn't do much. And a good example of execution, when I was at HP, HP was doing very well, and they had this vision on the printing business in the 80s and mid-90s was really growing. Now, in late 80s, HP had the vision that the color is the future. Now, remember, laser jets were selling well, black and white printing was doing well, but they had this vision that the color is going to be really the key down the line. And HP put a lot of focus on inkjet printing. Now, inkjet, there's a lot of physics involved in inkjet printing. You are talking about picoliters of drops, you're heating things up, gravity is acting on these drops, there's a lot of technology involved. But again, focus, execution, investment, and drive. And then that business that became for HP, tens of billions of dollars over the years. And as you all know, HP has this phenomenal business, but behind that kind of a growth, there was a lot of execution, a lot of focus, a lot of drive. Now, as an executive, as a manager, you have to have the drive. Whether you succeed or you fail, you got to have the drive to pick up again and run. And I think everyone who is successful will tell you that drive is one of the key things which is very intrinsic. And you have to really find your own formula. What drives you? And when you see your drive flailing a little bit or reducing, you have to ask a question, why is it reducing? What do I need to do to really become one of the best in my field? Because all these 4 things kind of come together. But if you do these 4 things in a very consistent manner, this is something I found in my own experience that ultimately you'll get where you need to go. There might be times when you may feel you're not quite going in the direction where you need to go, but ultimately you'll get there. The second part of my talk is, as I said, the leadership and the acceleration of business are very intrinsically related. And the reason they're intrinsically related is that as a leader, you set the tone, you set the values, you set the, whatever direction the company is going to go. And if for whatever reason you don't provide the previous chapter I just described in terms of your leadership, the next chapter, which is business acceleration, may happen for a year. May happen that you may have done a great algorithmic invention or some great hardware, but you will not make it 6 years in a row. It might happen for a year or 2 and then again it tanks. So everything I'm describing is more for long-term scalability. So for business as well, vision and values. Now let me describe it a little more. Values is how you do things. Now there are many, there are different type of leaders. You have to make the call, what kind of a leader you want to be. When people are done working with you, how they will remember you, what would be the key attributes they will say, this person really brought to the table. Values is very key. When I joined Ixia, one of the first key thing I did working with the team is set the core values. Now, whenever you set core values, people say, well, another chart on an aisle or another chart in a conference room. You got to then execute, live that day in, day out. And it takes a year or 2, and then people say, no, this is real. This is how this person wants to work, or this is how the company would work. And gradually, you start transforming the company. Gradually start transforming the people. So as a leader, always try your best to start with some key core values where there's a strong, customer orientation, there's a strong respect for people, there's a strong contribution back to community. All those key things I'm describing, you said it. And what you'll be amazed to see, that as you said that and as you live it, you will see that the entire company will respond. And the more global you are, and nowadays, most of the companies, even the startups actually are very global. The more global you are, these principles become very important for everyone to feel they are part of the company. And nowadays, one of the key things you really have to focus on is, do you have their hearts and minds? Your employees' hearts and not just their, 9 to 5. You have their hearts and mind. That makes a difference. So the vision you create, the values you set, they fundamentally are like a magnetic field. They pull people together. And the vision part actually is pretty important. Many companies have great products, but there's no vision. Over time, they become a holding company. If you ask an employee and you do a quick elevator test, you say, what do you guys stand for? Sometimes they can't explain what they stand for. So having the crisp vision defines the landscape, where all employees know that this is the kind of landscape where we'll innovate together. And once in a while, it's okay to go outside the landscape, but it's always good to tie it together. Talent. As a business, as you're accelerating business, the talent part is, in my opinion, the biggest mistakes I have made are always hiring the wrong guy for the wrong job.